Ohio State's coming off a loss to Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. And as an Ohio State fan myself, I'm here to give you guys my thoughts after having about half a day to collect them and fully think about what happened last night. Just to start off, just like last year, after we lost to Michigan, I was truly confident in the team's ability to bounce back from that loss. I think they're going to do the same thing here. Obviously, it kind of carries the same weight. I mean, Ohio State lost to Michigan last year. There's a lot of weight around that game just because to get back to the Big Ten Championship this year, we were able to win that game, but we lost in the Big Ten Championship this year. So there's definitely some devastation in both scenarios. Some people had more devastation in the Michigan game. I would say I had more devastation in this game for some reason, which is a little odd to me. But I think that this will just add fuel to the fire. I think they're going to learn from this loss just like last year. They have a lot of great leaders in that room. Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles are two of those guys who were in that room last year, did the same thing. So no reason to think that can't happen again this year. Let's get into the offensive struggles of the Big Ten Championship game. I will say the play calling got a little bit questionable there towards the end of the game and into the red zone. Obviously, you're coming from behind, which we haven't been in that situation all year long. Pretty much haven't been in that situation since losing to Michigan, if I'm not wrong. I believe we didn't ever trail in a playoff game. Maybe trailed a little bit to Texas. Other than that, or we trailed a little bit to Notre Dame as well in the national championship. Besides that, though, we're playing in a situation we haven't been in before, so I understand that. But the red zone's really where it got me. And so in the red zone in the second half, it just seemed like every time we got in the red zone, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, or both of them just weren't on the field for whatever reason. And that's fine with me. We have talent other than those guys. We have great tight ends and Max Clare and Kazmarek, I believe that's how you say his name. And I would love to see them get involved in the red zone because I think tight ends are where you can make your money in the red zone, and not everybody accounts for them every single play in that area of the field. But I just feel like you can't change our whole offense once we get inside the 20-yard line. Our offense is what got us there. We're explosive everywhere else in the field. Bo Jackson is on a burner right now. You have two of the best wide receivers in the country, along with Julian Sayin and the two tight ends like I mentioned. So you have all the weapons. No need to change your identity when you get in the red zone. And it would just been nice to see a little bit of that narrative change this game. Obviously, the narrative was there against Michigan, but we were able to not defeat it, but overcome that. And I kind of thought we were going to do that once we got that touchdown pass to Carnell Tate in that first half and what was our only touchdown, but that was not the case. On to the O-line, another part of the offense that struggled. There was 5 total sacks in this game, which I believe we only let up 6 all year prior to this game. Coming off a game against Michigan where Julian Sayin wasn't touched at all, had all the time in the world, which is pretty impressive against that defensive line, as we know. Obviously, not the defensive line like in the past with Aiden Hutchinson, but still got some pretty good players there on that line. And to just go from having your best game almost all season long to your worst was a little shocking to me. Kind of is like, wow, where did this come from? And just, I get it. Indiana's got a great defensive front as well. And then when you combine Isaiah Jones in there getting two of the 5 sacks, it's going to be hard to eliminate the sacks completely, and I'm not asking for that. Just 5 sacks, it just seems a lot to me. And then as well as the run game, coming off, once again, a great game against Michigan, running the ball. We've been running the ball well the last 3-4 weeks. Part of that's been because Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate have had injuries, but still, Bo Jackson's been one of the best running backs in college the last 4 weeks, and he still showed some of that again in this Big Ten game, just not as much. And if you noticed, the line really didn't ever get any push against this Indiana line. Most of the big plays was because there was a play that Bo Jackson made somebody miss. Obviously, that wasn't the case for every single run, but for the most part, that was the case. And this O-line needs to get better at this going into the game against Texas A&M or Miami in the Cotton Bowl. We just can't be one-dimensional. We got to have balance, which Ryan Day has talked about in his press conferences since, and he's right. Got to have balance. Now, moving on to Julian Saying, I believe he played a pretty good game for considering the level of defense he played, considering the pressure, and considering the early interception. He had a 21 of 29 completions. That's a 72% completion percentage, so a pretty, honestly, average game for him, what he's been doing this season. 258 yards, 1 touchdown, obviously to Carnell Tate, and that interception on the third pass of the game, which is pretty good, like I said, for the defense, but not to mention the pressure he faced. 5 sacks, most he's had in a single game all year, along with all the pressure, and he was getting confused by that defense. And so for him to have a bad game and still put up these numbers, I know we didn't win, but that's very encouraging to him and to all of us about what he can truly do. Also on Julian Saying, the fourth down conversion, this is the second straight week we've failed in the red zone on a 4th down sneak, and I love the call. I have nothing against the call. It's all about the execution, right? And that's fine. We're not going to execute this every single time, but like we saw last week at Michigan and this week versus Indiana, Julian Saying's knee has hit the ground before the line to gain. Some of that's on Julian. Some of that's just what happens when you sneak it. But I would just love to see him improve on that, pick up his feet as quick as possible, keep turning those legs, and we would, hate to say the game would be completely different if he gets that 4th down, but it definitely changes some things. So just work on that. I get it. It's hard, and I've never played football, so I don't understand this completely, but I'm sure it's hard to keep those feet moving in a pile like that with tons of big guys around you. Just something to work on. And then going back to the red zone for a little bit here, little thought here. I'm not, like I said, never played football, no football expert, but just from observing, I just wonder why Ryan Day and Brian Hartline have not set up in the same formation as the QB sneak that they've done constantly throughout this year. But why not have Max Clare or Will, they're both tight ends, slip out and just run a route to the pylon? It's open, Obviously, there's somebody that's going to tag along with them from the defense if they do roll out. But I feel like it'd work. And what difference does it do if it doesn't? The last 2 times we ran the sneak, it hasn't converted, and I get it. This is the only 2 times it hasn't worked all season long, as Julian and Ryan Day said in their press conference. But just something to think about, something to switch up everything, give this offense maybe a little bit of a new look. Let's move our focus forward. So the best part is everything is still in front of this team. Everything is still alive. Our back-to-back Natty Hopes is alive. You get to play in the 12-man playoff. Going to Ohio State, this is everything you could really want. You beat the team up north. You got to play in the Big Ten Championship. Would have loved to win that thing. You didn't, but now you get to go play for a national championship. So, yeah, it sucks, and I know it sucks. Ryan Day's voiced that it sucks for everybody. With that in mind, we got to move forward, and I think they're going to be able to do that. So let's move into the Cotton Bowl. Obviously, we don't know exactly who Ohio State's going to play, but I would have to think it's going to be Texas A&M, and we're going to play the winner of Texas A&M and Miami. But it's not going to be easy. This path to the national championship is not going to be easy at all. Would like to think we're going to have to go up against 2 of the top SEC teams, and Texas A&M and Georgia. But I still believe we can get it done. So Texas A&M, they have been kind of leaking oil in the season. They just eked past South Carolina by 1 point. We all know that comeback. And then versus Texas, or at Texas, obviously they lost that game. But they showed some weakness in those games. Versus South Carolina, just showed that if that defense gets bent out of shape early, which I believe could very well happen against Ohio State, we saw what happened to that Tennessee and Oregon defense right off the jump. Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard connected for some pretty deep balls on both of those opening drives, and both resulted in a touchdown. And so it just showed in that game, that South Carolina game, that the defense getting bent out of shape early just puts Marcel Reed in a tough spot. Obviously, Marcel's got to be able to handle that a little better, but makes him kind of just face pressure that you don't want a quarterback to be in on the very first drive. And I just believe that our defense is the best Marcel Reed and the rest of Texas A&M has faced all year long and will face all year long. and we showed in the Michigan game that we can eliminate a dual threat quarterback real quick. I mean, obviously Bryce Underwood's not the best example to go off of, but he didn't really have anything explosive happen in the run game, and we know Marcel Reed likes to do that. He likes to get out of the pocket a few times, and so just the ability, just in the back of our head, know that we can stop this type of quarterback is really good, because this is a quarterback that was in the Heisman race for 11 out of the 12 weeks, and I never thought he was going to win it, but he definitely was in the conversation, and for the right reasons. But I am very excited for this matchup. Being able to go up against what people thought at one point was the best team in the country, pretty much a home game for them as well, being at AT&T Stadium. Although Buckeye faithful will travel, I can guarantee you that. I'm excited for it. A little nervous for it, but yeah, that'll be an exciting one to watch. And who knows, maybe we don't have to play Texas A&M, but I would pretty much count on it that we will. And then let's move into Georgia, who we would assume beats either Tulsa or Ole Miss. I believe that I'm getting that correct, and we'll most likely play them we will end up playing them in the VRBO Fiesta Bowl if we win against Texas A&M or Miami, and they win against Ole Miss or Tulsa. And this will be one of the biggest tests all year long, up there with Indiana. I see this game very similar to the Oregon game last year at the Rose Bowl for Ohio State. One of those where, yeah, you're coming off a great win against Tennessee at the time, and in this situation, probably against Texas A&M. But there's obviously a little nerves about it, just because you know the worthy of an opponent that you're going up against. However, I think if Ohio State finds himself going up against Georgia, I think that means that they answered all the questions that I'm putting out here and the rest of the nation's putting out there, and some of the questions they have. And that's just, can you go up against a tough team, a team that's going to eliminate your best stuff? And I think obviously the answer would have to be yes if they're in this game. So Georgia's obviously, right now the best team in the SEC. It's going to be great to see. Ohio State's going to have to run through the SEC to get to the national championship. And so I think that honestly gives people a little bit of motivation in that building, just because what are people going to say when you go and win this thing, having to go through 2 out of the 3 best SEC teams and then face off against Indiana again and get your revenge. So a lot of exciting stuff for this Ohio State team ahead, as brutal and excruciating of a loss that was against Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. Still a lot to play, and that's what's so great about this new college football format. And I love it personally. I know a lot of people are kind of like about it, but I think it's a great time for college football, and this is exactly why. But in the next week, we've got Army-Navy game, which a video will be posted about that soon if it hadn't already. And then in the future, some in-depth breakdowns of every college football matchup in the playoffs. So an exciting time for this channel, exciting time for college football, and we hope you guys will enjoy it all. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Peace.